So water is, of course, the absolute vital ingredient to physical life as we know it. When they search for life on other planets, they know they found it when they find water, even any kind of water. So in the conventional way of viewing life, meaning physical life, plants, trees, animals, bacteria, water is the key. And yet, the way we're programmed to think and to perceive our world is very much in terms of an objective universe, a universe of objects. There is this object, there is that object, there is this object. Everything we see is a collection of objects. And this is something which is happening with the evolution of mind, the awakening of consciousness through the brain and through the sense perceptions, particularly the eyes, that we see, we perceive in our conditioning object. There is me, which I think I can see but I don't, but I am the number one object to myself, and there is the other objects of the world. It's quite a split. And you can track it really with your consciousness. You know, if I say look at the flowers, and we all look at the flowers gains an affirmation of objectivity. It becomes an object of art, or if we go to one petal of the flowers, that flower now almost has an independent existence separate from the whole. We're all looking at the petal. It's an object. So in this, our waking consciousness, in its present moment evolution, is very much splitting the world up. Where it looks, it divides. So now I look at Gina and I name her. Of course, language is the next thing. I name it Gina. So Gina becomes a separate object within the group. It's intense. You can see how consciousness can invest and affirm. It has some power to it. So on the first day we talked about peace and how peace is very much part of the consciousness which sees. Wherever we look, it is peace which is looking. It's a quality of consciousness itself. But then at the same time, when that quality of peace is allowed in the consciousness and we look with peace at the flower, in a way, and we allow that peace within consciousness to move with the consciousness, in a way the consciousness then is channeling peace towards the flower, and it awakens the peace in the flower, and there's a unity of peace. The same thing with silence, or all the different reverberations. So, on the basis of this mental consciousness, we have constructed our physical universe as being the object, the earth, and the object, the moon, and the object, the stars, and even we make a black hole into an object because this is what we see, and seeing is believing. What we see with our eyes, we believe is real. And yet, at the same time, there is this key to life itself, which is water. And water is not really an object. You can't hold it in your hand. You can't. It's very hard to keep it. You can make containers for it, but there's a much greater degree of unity and flow, clearly, in the liquid state, in water. So, what happens when we turn inside and we move into the world of inner experience is the world of objects begins to fall away a little bit. The thing which is me, the name which I am, the identity. the sense of physical location as an absolute thing. The sense of the body begins to shift because we turn our attention inside and cut out the eyes. It becomes this kind of fluttering collection of sense perceptions, quite unstable. And we give it a parameter of space where we remember our body is, but we could also make the sense perceptions much bigger than the point of perspective where we're looking from. There's this expansion possible. So the moment we turn inside, in a way, we're releasing a little bit the objective world, the world of objects, which our mind has actually constructed. And then sometimes, we have an experience which is when we release the objective grasp, the graspable universe. Because if it's an object, we can hold it. If it's an object, we can keep it. If it's an object, we can maybe control it, manipulate it. So in releasing the objective universe, even a little bit, two things happen. In releasing the world of objects, the first thing that can happen is there is a flash of enlivened experience, reflected by the mind. Experience comes forward of some kind. And experience it with a freshness. Like, oh. So that's the first thing that happens when we release the objective universe a little bit, the world of things which we see through our conscious mind. The second thing, and it's almost a whiplash effect, is we're confronted with helplessness. Because, water flows. It's the same water in me as the water in him, as the water in the river. It's much less possible to grasp it, to control it, to build a dam. And if we build a dam, the water goes up anyway and will flood over. There is this possibility of helplessness, which for the nervous system, which is deeply bodily programmed to stay in control, is a little bit of fear. Let's get control again. Let's get something objective. So the first object in that moment of an experience of helplessness and in the sheer vitality of life is the experience itself. Oh, I had an experience. Let's make it into an object. Let's make it into the reference point. What shall I do with it? So the doing with the experience, how can I make sense? How can I fit it into the puzzle of my mind? What does it say about me, the object? And this is a natural process which happens with all of us. That's the cycle it tends to go through, from awareness and helplessness and the watery element back up to consciousness. Okay, let's get a grip. Let's manage these waterworks. Now, water is perhaps the most in-the-face sign of the miracle of life, also in experience. We take it for granted. You turn on the tap and this incredible pure liquid comes out. But to hold water in your hand and to watch it just flow through the hand it's a kind of miracle. What's happening there, the flow of water, the purity of water, the freshness that can be in water. And that's only on the outside. And that's only in the water state. We're not talking about the clouds or the frozen state. It's in the flowing state. In terms of this kind of retreat where we're moving more deeply into the body, sometimes through discomfort, sometimes through moments of bliss, but a lot of what's happening here is embodiment. We come up again with this belief system in the objective world. So it's my body part, it's my bones. We kind of meet the bones in a way. And yet the body is very, very much alive in its water element. And we see that everywhere, and we also see it very closely followed by shame, by stop the water flow. So when tears start to flow, it's like, oh no, I'm crying. It's hold back the water. The sweat, the natural purification process of the body that can come with hot sweats, cold sweats. The blood itself, which is constantly renewing through all of the body, through the heart. The lungs, which are based on water. The whole sexuality, which is based on exchanging bodily fluids. So water is very much connected also with helplessness as a very positive quality, because water teaches us how to blend and move to unity. When two water droplets on a window pane on a rainy day come to a certain point of closeness, and this is also gravity, the law of attraction, at a certain stage they reach out and they become one. And then if you separate those two water molecules again, each one is containing the other forever. And that's a little bit how we communicate through the dimension of feeling awareness. You can feel the intimate layers of somebody else, you kind of just allow the mixing, the flow, which is a loss of self. It's a loss of individuality. Then at a certain stage, because of the tiny element which is the particles, the body, we pull back, but we're always containing the other. So in the field of Glastonbury, of course, this is happening. This liquid exchange with the atmosphere of Glastonbury is happening. We are leaving ourselves here, we will leave ourselves here, and it will leave itself in us. And wherever we go. In the work we did yesterday with the ancestral lines, again it becomes more clear that we're not talking about, we can talk about the grandfather or the uncle and all of this, but we're actually much more talking about a flow of themes through the blood, through the water in every cell. The DNA is also resonating in water. So we're talking about this resonances and discords which move to harmony through the line, and it's really now. Also what was is really now in the dimension of etheric water, in a way. And that's really fascinating because it shows the junction on the cellular level. Because what we're talking about is a DNA that's going, and it starts to go through the water in an individual cell, and then in the next cell, it picks up the harmony through all the cells of the body, through the water. One cell of the body, one little cell is enough to affect every cell in the body. This we know. We know it for worse with cancer, but we know it also in healing. This is how the form always moves towards well-being. When we're meditating, we give you exercises, which is partly as a bridge to keep the conscious mind, to give it something to do. Because then it's quiet. If we just said, say, om, at a certain stage, it just gets annoying. So to recruit the mind and to satisfy its need to be doing something with an exercise is part of why it's so effective to use certain structures. But also what we're doing when we do exercises and meditations or even close our eyes is, in a way, we are falling into an ocean of water. Very, very pure water inside ourselves. And on a physical level, this water really is the key to harmony and connectivity between fighting parts of ourselves, conflicting parts, left brain, right brain, heart, lungs, the nervous system and the physical body, the organs. It's the great connector. It's an energy conductor. You give a message to the toe, the message will come to the whole through the water. in the body, in addition to the blood and the tissue and the water of the cells, there is the cerebral spinal fluid, the CSF. So this is a fluid which is all the way around the brain and through the center of the brain. And science at this moment is evolving the theory that this is actually key to mental and physical well-being. It's the same fluid where the nerve system, the nerve endings are actually communicating through. It moves from the base of the brain, and it's very much, some would argue, some scientists argue, but they are, Luddites, but it's quite focused in the cerebral cortex, in the pineal. And it's renewed.
I'm sorry, the fluid is focused here?
There's a lot being produced here. The duct is actually below the amygdala, but there's a high concentration of cerebral spinal fluid around the pineal. And it goes all the way down the spine, down the spinal column, all the way down. The spinal cord, which is a main nerve ending, stops about here. And then the raw cords continue down into the coccyx, and they're surrounded in an ocean of cerebral spinal fluid. So this fluid is moving both up and down at once.
Where does it stop? You pointed out where it stops.
It's on the spine a little bit below the navel.
Before the lumbar, the end of the thoracic.
Yeah.
So, and what is stopping there?
The spinal cord.
Spinal cord. Okay.
So when we're working with our consciousness and our awareness in meditations, you can already see with the kind of meditations when we work with the spine, when we move to the pineal, when we come to the center of the head, we're working with an activation of the fluid through our consciousness. Our consciousness is in a way blending with the fluid, and sometimes we have that experience where it goes into a kind of sense of flow and movement and currents. There is something very interesting inside the cerebral spinal fluid, the fluid itself is very pure. It's quite a pure water, which is renewing itself constantly. There's something like, is it half a liter of water a day that is exchanged?
The whole cerebral spinal fluid is exchanged. It's about 60 cc, I think, and it's changed about 6 times a day. The total cerebral spinal fluid.
But once it's in the flow, it has something in it which is quite special, which is the DMT molecule, and otherwise called the spirit molecule. So this is the same molecule that's found in many of the healing plants, medicinal plants, which are used to great effect in activating the connection to other dimensions. The kind of wider pull towards harmony of the universe.
And they have found this DMT in the whole.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of it in the cerebral spinal fluid, which is why a lot of some people are now saying that meditation. This is how meditation is, especially in the pineal chakra, is producing the visions and the guidance and the intuition. But also, of course, a lot of deep intuition comes from below the navel, from this basin of the cerebral spinal fluid.
DMT?
DMT, yeah. Yeah.
Do you mean it's connected to the chakra there? Below the navel?
What?
Because the element is water.
Yeah, also, yeah. But actually it's the whole basin of fluid here in the lower half. When we have that experience, like we're standing in an ocean of peace, like here, it's actually the water. It could be the water which is simply resonating with the water inside, outside. It's one water. Now, we know that water in its liquid state is just one form of water. The same molecule also becomes gaseous as clouds, as vapor, as smell. And so this water also has an atmosphere. It has it goes beyond the body. And there's also the possibility of exchange there with other dimensions around the body. Now we're talking really still about the physical. This is the beautiful thing. We didn't actually go anywhere spiritual at all with this conversation. We're talking about water. Just water. Perhaps one of the most interesting areas to ponder together is the effect, the surrender of our consciousness, and now I mean that waking consciousness, that baptism of that consciousness into the water is having on the whole system. Because the water is always there in us, and this is maybe one of the secrets of healing and inner growth. Because the water is anyway here, whether it's turbulent, whether it's frozen, it's anyway, whether it's blocked, it's anyway here. But when we move, and even if it's the doctor moves with his consciousness towards our system, a healing effect is activated. And there are a lot of experiments out there that are shown by the Japanese guy, what's his name? Yeah, who's incredibly attacked by other scientists. But nevertheless, the pictures speak of the arrangement of the water molecules according to the intention of consciousness, just in looking at it. So it seems like common sense to me to open up again the miracle of water together as a kind of experiential inquiry, because there is so much at stake here. You know, it's the difference between medicating a discomfort with drugs and gently allowing the surrender of consciousness into the water which we are made of. So it's a day of inquiry around this fluidity. Quite a few very developed healers went through a stage where they lost their vision. I know of 2 more, where they for a while became blind. And that blindness led them, because this objective universe, they started to work blind. Meaning, when we close our eyes, we can forget anybody else in the room is there and just see energy streams. This for them opened up a whole shift in their process. Just the removal of this habit of objectifying what we see, making it real, seeing is believing. So during the day, perhaps it's also nice to, we can go blind also without closing our eyes, to kind of really relax the eyes' tyranny over reality, and to allow that resonance through the subtle water state, that resonance to play us. It's really like it plays us. We're the instrument and it plays us. It can be incredibly relaxing and relieving to let go of the visual grasp, let's say it like that. I don't want you to all walk around like this, but that's possible as well. Yeah.